Hey everyone, welcome back to my Loom kitchen, and today I'll be showing you how to make the baby version of my 2-flavor soft serve swirl cone. This is really quick and easy to make and doesn't use up a lot of bands. They make great bag charms or gift charms. So if you click the link under this video, it should take you to the recipe page where I listed down the number of bands needed for this creation as well as the colors I used. So check that out, come back, and let's begin. We will be using our regular loom. If you could remove the center row and have the remaining 2 rows facing on opposite directions. My front row is facing to the right and my back row is facing to the left. I placed a marker on one side. This marker will show me the front, and it also shows me the side where I'm going to elevate my swirls. So I'm sure to stay elevated on one side only. So let's begin. Take a single band of any of your colors and wrap it around your hook 3 times. Now you take 2 bands of one flavor and another 2 of your other flavor, and you're going to pull that through. Now you're going to take the ends of one flavor and you're going to put it down your center. Across from each other, and then you take the other ends of your second flavor and put it on the pegs beside. So this is your starting point. Now we're going to have transition bands on this area and this area. So you take the flavor for this side, one band, put it down. Flavor for the other side, put it across. Take your hook, pull that flavor under and over. Now you take the other end of the band that was laid across and you twist it. Put the other end here and hook the other end of your first flavor on that peg. Do it again. Drop one flavor band here. Second flavor goes across. Take that drop band and pull it over. Pick up the other end of that second flavor. Now hook it onto that peg and put the other end of the first flavor on that peg. Now you fill up the sides with the correct flavors on the side. Then you're going to lift the lower 2 bands on all 4 pegs up and over. Now let's repeat that. Drop your band. Do the transition bands again on the bottom and the top. Then fill up your sides with the correct flavor color. And lift the lower 4 bands up and over on each peg. So now make sure you have your marker on the front, and we're going to elevate an area on the 6 pegs. So let's extend this side first. Take 2 of the color met for the left side, or flavor for the left side. Now this area is going to have a transition area. I need a transition cross. So drop one band, the other, pull down, push it down. We're going to X out this area here. And we're going to X out this area here. Now we're going to lay 2 bands on top of the X'd out area. So 2 bands here, 2 bands here. This area needs a transition band for the top, so drop your band again. And 2 bands over here. Now we're going to lift our bands. We're not going to touch anything on this peg. On this peg, we're going to ignore the lowest 4 bands, and we're going to pull up the center 4 bands. So this one. Now there are only 8 bands around this peg, so we're going to take the lower 4, pull it up and over. This peg, we're going to not touch the lowest 4, so we're going to take the center 4, pull it up and over, and we won't touch this peg first. Now we're going to extend again. So 2 bands here. Now this area needs a transition X. So 1 band, another band, now we need to lay double bands all around these 6 pegs. So let's start with the transition area. So this first. And then here. Then fill up the rest with the correct flavor band colors. 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. So again, we're going to ignore the lowest 4 bands. Now this peg earlier we didn't touch at all, so we're going to take the center bands and leave the lowest 4 and leave the new upper 4 bands. So we take center 6 bands. Over here, just the center 4 bands. Over here, just the lower 4, since that was an extended peg. Over here, you take the center 4. Over here, you take center 6. So we didn't touch this peg earlier. And over here, you take the center. Oh, it's an extended peg. There are only 8, so the lower 4 bands go up and over. Now we're going to do one more round on these 6 pegs. So transition bands first. Here. Over here. Then fill up the spaces again with the correct color per side. We're going to lift all the lower bands up and over, but the sequence should be lift the center 4 first, then lift the lower 4 next. So center 4, then lower 4, and on this just the lower 4. Center 4, lower 4, center 4, lower 4, and here just the lower 4. We're going to elevate again, so make sure your marker's at the front and you're on the correct side. No. So we're going to start on this side. 2 bands, extend it here. On this area, we're going to have a transition band, so drop the flavor band, 1 flavor band here. White goes across. And you X this flavor out here. X this flavor out here. And on the other side, let's X out this part. Now we're going to lay double bands on top of just these 6 pegs. So let's start with this transition. And lay 2 bands here to here. Now let's ignore this peg first. Over here, we'll ignore the lower 4, so we just bring up and over the center 4. Ignore the lower 4 here, and just bring up the center 4. This is an extended peg, so just bring up the lower 4. Bring up the center 4 over here. Then we won't touch this peg in the meantime. Now let's finish off that level. Exit out here. We're going to have a transition band over here. So let's exit out here. Then drop your flavor 1. There. Now we're going to lay double bands all around these 8 pegs. Start with the transition bands. So drop one here, pull this across, drop another here, cross, now fill up the areas with the correct colors. 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, another 2. So let's lift the lower bands up and over. This is an extended peg, so we lift the lower 4 bands up and over. This peg should have more since we didn't touch it earlier, so you're bringing up the middle 6. This should be the center 4 bands. This is the center 4. This only has 8 bands in total, so bring up the lower 4. This should be the center 4 bands. This was the peg we didn't touch earlier, so there should be center 6 bands. And this one should be the center 4 bands. Now let's do another round on these 8 pegs. Let's do the transition areas first. Now let's fill up the spaces with the correct flavor bands, double bands. Now we're going to lift all the bands up and over. On this peg, there are only 8 bands in total on the peg, so bring up the lower 4 bands. On this one has 12, so first you bring up the center 4, then bring up the lower 4. Same here, bring up the center 4, then the lower 4. Over here, center 4, then the lower 4. This one's just the lower 4. This is the center 4. Now bring up the lower 4, center 4, lower 4, and the last, center 4, lower 4. You can push it up if you want to check how your swirl is looking. Just be careful not to pull it off. Let's do one more round on the 8 pegs, starting with your transition. Then fill up the spaces again with the correct colors, the correct flavor bands, depending on the area. Then we just lift all the lower bands, the lower 4 bands up and over. We're going to move on to the cone. So we have to weave in our cone bands. So on this peg, you're going to pull 2 cone bands through and replace that peg with one end of that cone band. And let's put the other end here temporarily. Repeat that. Pull 2 cone bands through, replace that peg with one end, and put the other end on the previous peg. Just repeat that process all around these 8 pegs. So our last peg, pull those through. Now go back to that first one, place on the side, and just place it over the last peg. And we're going to do double bands all around these 8 pegs. This is the first round. Just lift all the lower 4 bands up and over. one last round on the 8 bags. So we're done with 2 rounds on the 8 bags, and we're now going to decrease from 8 bags to 6 bags. So let's smoothen out this. Now you're going to put your hook through. You're going to push back the upper 2 bands and pick up the lower 2. Release the bands left on the bag. Swirl to tighten. Bring that to the side. Let's do the same here. Put your hook through. Pick up the lower 2 bands. Release the bands on the bag. Pull to tighten. And place them here. Let's repeat that on these bags. Hook through. Pick up the lower 2. Release those bands. Just pull to tighten. Bring it forward. Bring it to the side. And again here. Hook through. Pick up the lower 2 bands. Release the bands left on the bag. Pull. And place it beside. Now we're left on 4 bags. So it's not so thick. You'll notice that there are 6 rounds of bands on each bag. So let's lessen that by pulling the lowest 2 bands, pull it up and over. We're almost at the end now. Let's finish up our cone with double bands on these 4 bags. This is the first round. So lift the lower 4 bands up and over. Second round. Our last round. Now to close this, let's do a round of single bands. Lift the lower 4 bands on each peg, so you're left with a total of only 2 bands on the pegs. So let's close starting this peg. First, let's go across, put your hook through, pick up the lower band of the 2, and place that on your starting peg. Now place your hook through, push back those upper 2 bands, pick up the lowest band, move it forward, hook through, pick up that lowest band, move it to the next peg, hook through, lowest band, move to this peg. Now there's only 1 band to move back to your starting peg. Now place your hook through that starting peg and pull a single band through, tie it off in a slip knot. Now help it off your loom. Now you're just going to press the lower portion in, grab your hook, go anywhere on the sides, pull that tail through, and you can just hide your tail. Just shape it up a bit, and that's it. So I hope you like it. Enjoy your 2-flavor baby soft serve cone.